Hello, my name is Amy and I work as a nurse. After yet another bustling day at the local hospital, a place where thankfully there are no night shifts, I arrived home a bit later than usual. "I'm home," I called out as I walked through the door. "Welcome back," came the cheerful reply from my daughter Janice. It's tough for Janice, only in the 3rd grade, to spend her afternoons alone at home waiting for me. Seeing her like this always tugs at my heartstrings, making me feel quite guilty. Despite this, I know some of my colleagues might envy my position as they juggle more irregular hours at other facilities. "Where's your dad today?" I asked her, hanging my coat. "He hasn't come home yet," Janice replied, looking a bit forlorn. "I feel like it's been ages since I last saw him." My husband Jack is the epitome of a workaholic, rarely at home and often absent from our daily lives. I can scarcely recall a time when he joined us for a meal or helped out with household tasks. That said, he does make an effort to spend time with his family, just not with Janice and me. On his days off, he's usually at his mother's house, tending to her garden and cleaning before sitting down to dinner with her. Unfortunately, this dedication doesn't extend to Janice's extracurriculars. He has missed every one of her soccer games and spelling bee contests. His absence and focus on his parents over us have strained our marriage significantly. "I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry you're so often alone," I said, feeling the weight of our situation. "It's okay, Mom. You come home every day, so that's enough for me," Janice replied, trying to be strong. I embraced her tightly, wishing things were different, that we could be a typical, happy family that spent quality time together. No matter how many apologies I offered to Janice, it felt like it would never be enough to make up for what she lacked. Then, unexpectedly, Jack came home early one day, which was a rarity. However, the bond between him and Janice had grown distant, and there wasn't much conversation at the dinner table that night. Out of the blue, Jack broke the silence. "Hey, why don't we go to Hawaii for the upcoming holidays?" I was stunned for a moment, unable to believe what I was hearing. After such a long period of disconnection, Jack suddenly proposed a family trip. I stood there, bewildered, wondering what was unfolding around me. We hadn't taken a proper family vacation in years, and suddenly Jack suggested a trip to Hawaii. It seemed perfect for celebrating his mother Charlotte's 62nd birthday, an event I thought would be a wonderful milestone to honor. Yet, part of me was irked that once again, his mother seemed to be his priority. Janice, however, was over the moon. "We can go to Hawaii. I want to go. I want to go," she exclaimed with pure joy. For her, this would be a first, and her excitement was palpable and infectious. I couldn't help but feel a tug at my heart seeing her so happy about the idea. Despite my reservations about traveling with Charlotte and the mixed feelings about our family dynamics, I couldn't deny Janice this opportunity. "All right, I guess so," I agreed reluctantly. "It's been a while since we've all been together as a family. Let's go." I nodded, trying to muster enthusiasm for her sake. The day of the trip was chaotic. Both Jack and I were tied up with work, and we agreed to meet at the airport. My day was more hectic than anticipated, and I found myself sprinting to catch the bus to the airport with Janice in tow. We arrived breathless and frazzled, only to find that Jack and Charlotte were nowhere to be seen. Confusion turned to frustration as I searched the bustling airport. "Where could they have gone?" I muttered under my breath, worry creeping into my voice. Neither had called, so I tried dialing their numbers, only to be met with the automated message that the phones were either switched off or out of signal range. Desperate, I approached the airline's reception desk for help. That's when a ground staff member, seemingly recognizing me, approached and asked, "Are you Miss Amy Martin?" "Pardon, yes," I replied, startled. How did they know my name? What was going on? The mystery only deepened, leaving me anxious and eager for answers. As the ground staff handed me a piece of paper, I felt a mix of confusion and apprehension. "I was asked to give this to you," the staff member said, her expression neutral. The note in my hand was scribbled with a message that left me reeling. "It'll just be the two of us going on this trip. If you can't be on time, then we won't take you. Why don't you just camp out somewhere around here? Bye. Charlotte." My heart sank. Janice, sensing something was amiss, looked up at me with wide, anxious eyes. "What's wrong, Mom?" Trying to shield her from the harsh reality, I managed a strained smile. "Oh no, it's nothing. It looks like your dad and Grandma went ahead without us. I'm sorry, but we can't go to Hawaii." "But we can. We can still go after them and get on another flight." Janice's voice was filled with a hopeful urgency. I hesitated, the truth weighing heavily on my lips. "Yes, we can try," I replied, trying to sound upbeat. But the reality was different. The cost of booking another flight last minute was far beyond what we could afford. What were we going to do? Lost in my thoughts, I barely noticed the commotion until an old man walking ahead of us suddenly collapsed. Instinctively, my nurse training kicked in, and I rushed to his side. His breathing had stopped, and I quickly turned him over to secure his airway. Upon inspection, I found that his airway was blocked by what appeared to be a piece of his vomit. "Please, someone call an ambulance!" I shouted as I started first aid. The emergency responders arrived swiftly, and the old man was transported to the hospital where he regained consciousness. Later in the hospital, he asked me, "Was it you who saved me?" Well, yes," I replied modestly. "I only did what anyone would do in that situation." "That's not true. Thank you so much. I thought I was gone for good," he said, visibly relieved and grateful. He introduced himself as Raymond and insisted on thanking me, although I assured him it was all in a day's work. As we chatted, Raymond inquired, "By the way, were you traveling somewhere?" His question brought me back to the stark reality of our situation, and I wondered how I could explain the tumultuous turn of events that had led us to this unexpected moment. "Yes, we were supposed to catch a flight to Hawaii," I explained to Raymond, feeling a mix of disappointment and resignation. "But we missed it. It's not your fault at all. We were already late because of my work commitments." Raymond looked genuinely disheartened by our situation. "That's a real shame. Your daughter must have been so excited," he remarked. "Why don't you just buy another ticket?" I felt a blush of embarrassment as I admitted, "Well, the truth is, we can't afford another ticket right now." My words hung in the air, accompanied by a sad smile that I couldn't hide. Understanding the predicament, Raymond nodded thoughtfully. "Okay then, as my way of thanking you for saving my life, let me buy your tickets. That'll solve the problem, right?" "Oh no, I couldn't possibly accept that," I protested. But Raymond was already waving down a staff member passing by. He borrowed her cell phone and stepped aside to make a call. After a brief conversation, he hung up and turned back to me. "If I don't get to thank you properly, I won't be able to rest easy," he insisted, half jokingly. Just then, the note from Jack and Charlotte slipped from my pocket, unnoticed by me in the commotion. Thanks to Raymond's insistence and generosity, Janice and I found ourselves on a plane to Hawaii, seated comfortably in business class, an unexpected upgrade that made our journey much more enjoyable. Upon arriving in Hawaii, I was still unsure where Jack and Charlotte were staying. I should have asked them before we left, a thought that nagged at me as we collected our luggage. "Hello, are you Amy and Janice?" a man called out as we exited the terminal. Surprised, I responded cautiously, Yes, that's right. Nice to meet you," while wondering how he knew our names. He smiled and handed me his business card. It bore the name of a well-known logistics company, sparking curiosity about what connection this could have to our sudden and unexpected adventure. Upon arriving in Hawaii, the man who had greeted us at the airport shared a surprising piece of information. "I've heard about you from the chairman of our company," he said warmly. "Thank you very much for what you did." What?" I was confused. "The elderly man you helped at the airport is the chairman of our company," he explained. "Oh, really?" I was astonished. I had no clue that Raymond, the kind man we met at the airport, was the chairman of a major company. The realization left me a bit dazed as he continued, "We will now take you both to your hotel. As per the chairman's instructions, please enjoy your trip to Hawaii." He then led us to a sleek black limousine. I had never experienced such luxury before and was almost nervous about entering such an elegant vehicle. "Wow, it's amazing!" Janice exclaimed, her excitement contagious as she marveled at the limousine's plush interior. Before stepping in, I checked my shoes several times, making sure they were clean. As we drove through the scenic landscapes, the beauty of Hawaii unfolded from the limousine windows like scenes from a dream, marked by an everlasting summer vibe. Despite the shaky start to our journey, I was grateful that we made it. Janice was captivated, her face pressed against the window as she took in every detail. Eventually, we arrived at a grand hotel, its opulent facade promising luxury. However, as we approached the entrance, a sinking feeling hit me. "Oh no, I didn't book a room," I murmured to myself, worried about the oversight. Hearing my concern, the man quickly reassured me. "Please don't worry. We have already reserved a room for you on the top floor," he informed me. "But I don't have enough money for this," I confessed, my anxiety mounting. "You don't have to pay anything. We've already taken care of the bill," he assured me. "Really?" I was overwhelmed by the extent of Raymond's generosity. The VIP treatment was unlike anything I had ever experienced, leaving me both grateful and slightly bewildered. Upon entering the hotel, we were shown to our room, which turned out to be a suite. It was lavishly spacious for just the two of us, with a breathtaking view of the ocean and the sunset from the expansive windows. The room was more like a sweet retreat, offering a panoramic spectacle that felt almost surreal in its beauty. Janice and I stood at the window, taking in the spectacular view, deeply appreciative of the unexpected kindness that had transformed our trip into an unforgettable adventure. During our stay at the hotel, we were assigned a dedicated staff member who was available to cater to our every need. The dining experiences were beyond anything I'd ever imagined, opulent to a point where words hardly do justice. One evening, they prepared the most exquisite steak right before our eyes, creating a culinary spectacle that surpassed all my previous dining experiences. After enjoying such a lavish meal, Janice and I decided to take a stroll around the hotel lobby. As we wandered, a commotion caught our attention. The sounds of an argument drew us towards a corner where, to my surprise, I saw my husband Jack and my mother-in-law Charlotte engaged in a heated discussion with the hotel staff. "Hey, what are you both doing here?" I called out, puzzled and concerned. They turned to us, equally surprised. "What? Why are you both here?" Jack asked, his voice tinged with confusion. "We came here as planned," I replied, my confusion growing. "But why did you send us such a harsh note? You suggested this trip." Jack glanced at Charlotte, seeming to search for backup, but instead he faltered. Well, it was your fault for being late," he tried to justify. I felt a mix of anger and sadness. I know we were late, but suggesting we just camp out somewhere was uncalled for. It wasn't right. Charlotte, looking neither remorseful nor apologetic, simply stood there, which made it hard for me to suppress my feelings of betrayal. Turning back to the unfolding argument with the hotel staff, I inquired, "What's the issue here?" Jack's frustration was palpable as he explained, "When I tried to check in, they just told me to leave. I don't understand." Sensing the need for clarity, I asked the hotel staff member, "Is something wrong?" The staff member responded with a seriousness that added gravity to the situation. I was informed that these individuals had abandoned our very important guests, your daughter and you. As a result, I was ordered not to allow them accommodation in our hotel. Suddenly, it all made sense. Raymond's influence was clear. As the chairman of a major company and a man who deeply valued respect and integrity, his protective gesture towards us was evident. Jack and Charlotte looked shocked as they realized the extent of Raymond's involvement and his protective stance towards Janice and me. "What the hell does he mean?" Jack muttered, confused and a bit frightened. "It's a long story," I began, "but essentially he's making it clear that he can't forgive you for leaving us behind." This trip had taken an unexpected turn, revealing the complexities of relationships and the unexpected champions who sometimes emerge in our lives. When I mentioned Raymond's involvement, Jack and Charlotte's confusion was palpable. "How does someone from this hotel know about that?" Jack asked, clearly bewildered. Understanding his surprise, I wasn't shocked by the hotel's knowledge of the situation. Given what I knew, it seemed like a fitting repercussion for their actions. "Do you know this person?" I inquired as I pulled out a business card. It was from the man who had guided us from the airport upon our arrival in Hawaii. "This is a business card from a major client of ours," my husband stammered, his face draining of color as he took the card with shaking hands. Charlotte's expression mirrored his, turning pale with shock. "You don't mean to tell me that you know the chairman of this company, do you?" "Of course, I know who he is," I explained. "He collapsed at the airport and I helped him. In gratitude, he booked our flight to Hawaii and even reserved our hotel room." Charlotte suddenly seemed to weaken, her body trembling. "What's the matter, Mom?" I asked, concerned despite the tension. "He's in the same gym club as me. I see him every so often and everyone there respects him tremendously." "What a coincidence this is," she murmured, clearly shaken by the intertwining of our worlds. Jack, looking equally stunned, nodded in agreement. "It's such a small world," he murmured, realizing the gravity of the coincidence. Before this conversation, I hadn't known of any connection between Charlotte and Raymond. However, Raymond himself had revealed the connection when he handled our unexpected travel hiccup. After the note fell from my pocket at the airport, he picked it up and read it. His reaction was one of disbelief. "Amy, what in the world is this?" he had asked, his tone mixing shock with disapproval. Hesitantly, I explained, "We were left behind by my mother-in-law and husband." His response was immediate and decisive. "How horrible and unforgivable," he declared, his actions thereafter clearly influenced by this new understanding of our predicament. When Raymond mentioned recognizing the name, the pieces started to fall into place. "Is your mother-in-law's last name Martin?" "Yes, her name must be Charlotte Martin." "Yes, that's her," I confirmed, still reeling from the unfolding events. "I know your mother-in-law. She's a member of the same gym club I frequent," Raymond revealed, his tone reflecting a mix of surprise and disbelief. "She doesn't seem like the kind of person who would abandon her family like that." Looking back at Jack and Charlotte, I couldn't help but smirk a little, thinking about the irony of the situation. It's tough, isn't it? Since you two are planning to go on this trip together, I guess Janice and I will just have to enjoy it on our own. Charlotte, why don't you just camp out somewhere around here? Enjoy the Hawaiian night without a roof over your head. Hey, wait, that's terrible. You are the rudest person ever. Jack and Charlotte protested loudly as I turned away from them. They were furious, unable to see the irony in their own words being thrown back at them. They had called me terrible and rude, yet it was they who had written those dismissive words to us first. I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. "Let's go, Janice," I said, and she took my hand, ready to leave the chaos behind. Behind us, the confrontation between the hotel staff, Jack, and Charlotte continued. "Anyways, get out of here. We don't have rooms for you both in this hotel," the staff firmly told them, unyielding in their stance. Finally, Jack and Charlotte were compelled to leave the hotel, and so Janice and I enjoyed our trip to Hawaii, just the two of us. The bond between Janice and her father, Jack, had nearly dissolved, and it felt unnecessary to worry about mending it during our trip. The kindness shown by Raymond in providing this incredible trip as a thank you for helping him was something we could never have anticipated. It turned what started as a troubling journey into a wonderful adventure, one that truly refreshed and delighted us both. After such an amazing and rejuvenating trip, we returned home with hearts full of gratitude and great memories. As for Jack and Charlotte, who had been ejected from the hotel, it seemed their troubles only escalated after they left. Whatever misfortune befell them seemed a distant concern to us now, overshadowed by the joy and satisfaction Janice and I derived from our unexpected Hawaiian holiday. After our return from Hawaii, Jack came back home looking utterly exhausted and defeated. It seemed that the chairman's influence had reached far and wide, resulting in Jack and Charlotte being unable to find accommodation in any hotel across the islands. They were forced to camp out in the wild, facing the harsh reality of the situation they had created. The repercussions of their actions didn't stop at just uncomfortable sleeping arrangements. Jack soon found himself in hot water at work. He was summoned by his boss and informed that his company's contract with Raymond's company might be canceled due to the negative impression he had made. Charlotte, too, faced social repercussions. The other members of her gym club began treating her coldly, and eventually she felt so ostracized that she left the club altogether. Working out and staying fit had been her sole hobby, but the distress from the incident led her to abandon her fitness routines. Instead, she found herself spending most of her time in front of the television, a shadow of her former active self. Amid these challenges, Jack and I realized that our marriage could not continue. We decided to divorce, and custody of Janice naturally fell to me. Despite the dissolution of our marriage, I did not seek alimony or child support, as my earnings were comparable to Jack's, and I was confident in my ability to support Janice on my own. This entire ordeal felt surreal, almost like a twist of fate. Being late to the airport that day had inadvertently led to me helping the chairman of a large company, an acquaintance of Charlotte's, and that act of kindness had been repaid with one of the best vacations I could ever imagine. It felt as though some inexplicable force had guided these events, perhaps indicating that my path with Jack was meant to diverge regardless of our efforts. Our relationship had been strained by conflicting schedules and priorities, with Jack often placing Charlotte's needs above our family's. Reflecting on everything, I harbored no regrets. The outcome might have been inevitable, but it left me with my wonderful daughter Janice. With her by my side, I felt complete. The love and joy she brought to my life far outweighed any sorrow from the past. Together, we looked forward to building a happy and fulfilling future, just the two of us.